The mind. It is a mystery that has baffled those who have one for centuries. Why do people think what they think? What even is thinking? Where does thinking come from? Why does he think differently than I do? These are the questions such individuals have asked through the years. And when there are questions, there are answers to such questions. But when no such answer can be found, then the answer must be created. Some of these creators looked towards mysticism to find their answers. They created systems such as the Arcana, meant to try and predict who a person will be and where his life will lead. Or they looked to the stars, creating astrology to determine the nature of a person by the time of their birth. Others use stories, myths, and legends, tales of demons and gods, to demonstrate representations of the worst and of the best of us. In this modern age, we have created typologies and psychology, replacing the mysticism and the myths of yesteryear. Just a few of the typologies we use today include the Dungeons and Dragons alignment chart, the politics alignment chart, the Big Five, Myers Briggs' 16 personalities, and Jungian archetypes. Of those, the Big Five, combined with some of Carl Jung's teachings, are the leading theories on the nature of human mannerisms, emotions, and personality. 72 Archetypes incorporates elements from all pre-existing typologies and methods, as it aims to understand the totality of all human emotion and thought, including that which has yet to exist. To that end, I believe it succeeds. What I have for you is a reference sheet I've created to aid in the utilization of 72 archetypes. But before I explain what you're looking at, there's one axiom you must hold as eternally true to even begin to understand. All of fiction is a research paper into 72 archetypes. In fact, the satisfaction rating of any piece of media is directly correlated to how accurately it aligns with the archetypes it researches. For example, a series written by Time Lord authors featuring a Time Lord protagonist, played by A, or a series of Time Lord actors, acting the way a Time Lord should, will be universally loved by its Time Lord audience, unless they stray from Time Lord values. Oh, and for the fans of Doctor Who, you can thank the freaks for that, or the Towery fucks. Now, on the left, we have the types, which I often call space-time zones. To give an overview of the origin of the naming schema, the first we have is Zeely. The name is derived from the Zeely sequence sci-fi novella. But if that's not your cup of tea, watch Soul Eater or Fire Force. Time travel from being superluminal is very Zeely. Oh, and if those are too lewd for you, I put erection in the box for a fucking reason. For other options, try Fairy Tale. And for more serious options, Ghost in the Shell is also Zeely. But I've never watched it, so if it's safe for work or not is totally up in the air. Angel is simple. Read the Bible. Two of the main characters are very angel. The third, the narrator, is Zeely. I already went over Time Lord. Watch Doctor Who. Towery fucks got their name from Stargate, so you want to watch that or any other militaristic or police sitcom, or sitcoms in general. But if you want to know how much these fucks suck, and get a real idea of how they are and how they think, read the implication of pages on the 72 Archetypes website in the description of this video, or watch Nuxanor's content. He's not Towery, but he's constantly shitting on them. Except Hassan Piker, that guy's maxed freak, wrongness incarnate. Keep it up, based blue Jew. And speaking of Jews, slaves are called slaves because they value transactions, including the hybridization of person and property. You could read the Kabbalah to learn their mandates. Freaks are freaks because they love being called freak. They'll even cheer at the label. Or they may instead say, how would you feel if I called you a freak? Right-wing authoritarians are exactly what it says on the tin, but they have this absolutely hilarious quirk. You see, a product of territory is tradition. So something really fun happens if they grow in a traditionally liberal nation. They're authoritarian in how liberal they are. You'll be free or else, motherfucker. Narcissists are the kind of people you have to say, the world doesn't revolve around you, and they'll completely ignore you. Now, it's very easy to confuse freaks as narcissists because their space-time zones are inversions of each other. People on the political right accuse freaks of narcissism all the time, while the left does the inverse with freak grifter accusations towards the right, though the accused usually aren't narcissists. The difference is freaks care about the world only as so far as it makes them feel, while narcissists only acknowledge the parts of the world they care about or are in the middle of. Psychopaths came up with the term because they became psychologists and invented psychology in an attempt to calculate human behavior, and found their own kin. Spoiler alert, you cannot plug human emotion or thought in an equation and get out of it any kind of consistent result. The space-time zones are organized by their relationship with space and time. Psychos are bound by both, and Zeely are unbound by both. The guys in the middle rows and columns are partially bound, acting as an interface for their neighbors. The concepts I put in those boxes are there because that's how they interact with space-time. Note that those concepts on the left apply only to the baseline polarity of that type, which is a great segue into emotional polarities relative to type. Adding this on is where we get the 72. Now I'm not going to read these out, so pause to take them in if you care about learning. Good. Now let's use it. Eeny, meeny, miny, freak. Let's extrapolate what concepts come out of baseline freak values, and we'll be using negative polarity for this extrapolation. First, finite volumes are any measurable quality or quantity that remains static unless added to or taken from. For example, human lifespans. Extrapolating a collapse state for mortality is easy, actually easy. In fact, I instruct you to pause for a moment to puzzle it out yourself. Do it. Did you do it? I sure hope so, because I'd otherwise have to think you're dumb. If you did and guessed death or dying, then you got it. Now, what kind of people would care about death in a way motivating them to make it a core part of their lives? How about a mortician? It's a pretty legal way to steep yourself in death. Another job that cares a lot about death would be actuaries, who use statistics to determine the probability of something killing you or dying from some such cause. Fun fact, statistics are always between 0 and 100, a finite number. You could even call it a volume. Oh, and I forgot to define body worship. You surely know about body positivity. Well, that's something slaves invented because they looked at body worship and it just wasn't lazy enough for them. Body worship is the exaltation of that which makes someone look less divine, less attractive, and more mortal. White knights are baseline freak, by the way. And stats collapse body worship. I also found out that RFK Jr. is a negative freak when I heard he has a fascination with dead animals, as you would expect with someone who has the archetype with a mortician shard. Also, his voice is very distinctive, and distinctiveness is a collapse state for mimicry. And yes, aspects of a person's archetype can and will manifest in real life against their consent or without their intent. I guess that since he didn't look like a zombie, Space-Time decided to make him sound like one instead. But I honestly like negative freaks more than their polar opposite positron freaks, which contain the whore shard. But high-level negatives can still get you the killer clown, like the Joker. Negatron freaks are somehow the best ones. Now, something you need to understand is that some archetypes can resemble each other. What's negative for one type won't be the case from alternative perspectives. For example, let's glance at Zeely. Geometry and topology look really smart, but geometry is simplified as this thing takes up this much space, while topology is this thing has this many spaces through it that have this much space. You may confuse this for finite volumes, but freaks mold themselves to the volume, which is where mimicry comes from. Zeely mold things and reality into an infinite possibility of shapes so long as the space made available stays constant or goes up. What baseline Zeely don't do is measure jack shit, which is why their thinking and actions aren't measured. Examples of this form of thinking from an anime character's perspective includes Black Star from Soul Eater, Natsu from Fairy Tail, and Arthur from Fire Force. Now, if you know anything about these characters, then you know they're the dumbest motherfuckers. They're so focused on thinking that they can shape the world however they want that actually measuring reality is otherworldly for them. But when Zeely add any polarity, that magnificent stupidity defenestrates. Positives are puzzle solvers and pioneers who make connections through space and time. Negatives are paladins who are extraordinarily resilient, able and willing to plug holes in their defenses. And covalents are truly objective thinkers. But the Trailblazer is a trash panda who gleefully shoves themselves into any hole catching their eye. Paladins have an almost pathological irreverence to danger or harm, especially when the well-being of others is on the line. while the objective are able to consider so many possibilities and perspectives at once that they're functionally insane. Oh, and does anyone know this lady's relationship status? Paladins are hot as fuck. Oh, the point I was getting at is that Covalent Zeely don't care about statistics any more than using it as a single data point in their vast considerations. They're usually the first to call bullshit when a hyperpolar freak grifter tries to pull something. They need something infinite to use, so they use metrics, which can be used to measure anything, including human behavior. Those are called stereotypes. They can also measure consequences, but if they find there are none, that baseline Zeely dumbassery is back on the menu. That doesn't mean they're opportunistic anarchists. Being spatially unbound, Zeely are macro or big picture thinkers and only dismiss consequences when they're a minor or momentary inconvenience. So why would Asmongold, a covalent Zeely, care about stealing forks?
Because the whole world is structured as a daycare around these people. See, I can't tell you what I would do with these people. I can't tell you what I would do, but I will tell you that after I did it, nobody else would be stealing forks. There'd be nobody stealing forks after this. This would be a one-time learning experience for a lot of people. This would be it. It'd be done. And so there'll be no more forks thieves. People would be afraid to take 2 forks.
Well, the answer to why he's complaining about stealing forks is pretty obvious. This isn't a momentary issue. It is a compounding violation, and if you poke too many holes into the fabric of society, it tears. So what would Asmongold do about this man? Well, rather than asking me, let's see what the creator of 72 Archetypes himself said. Zeely? Covalent Zeely has Holy Spirit, Holy Night, voice of an angel, maybe, alcoholism, logic. Alcohol and logic both have consequences. And while that statement is true, we have updated logic to being positron Zeely, not covalent Zeely. Logic and spirits are both summarizations. Actually, a whole bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff in a bunch of archetypes. That's why they're archetypes. They're overarching over a vast number of concepts. But yeah, they're very peaceful, and it's real peace, in the sense of pacification. They will cut down anyone who fights to ensure peace. He's talking about the Tauri fucks, particularly the ones who are in the religion of peace. I love those little fuckers sometimes, the covalent Zeelies. Knock on a door, smash it in, hold you at gunpoint while they take your guns from you, and shoot you if you lift anything in protest. Then they move on to the next door. That's real pacification. Now, this isn't one-to-one, so let's swap out a few points. This is an open establishment, so no door smashing. The thief has forks, not a gun, assumingly, so assume he's not strapped. Replace lifting a gun with generalized resistance. How about trying to use those forks in defense? But shooting someone without a gun isn't poetic. Oh. Covalent Zeely also includes the shards, sight, vision, and eyes. So what Asmongold actually wants to do is to take those forks and shove them into the thieves' eye holes. That would be effective. Oh, and Asmongold, if you're watching this, don't confirm anything. You still have plausible deniability. Oh, that was a bit of a tangent. Let's get back to the main topic. Lastly, we have the meta levels. When looking at meta levels, you should start with identifying either the conceptual or functional levels, with both being nouns. The targeting levels are verbs. Each level represents a qualitative and exponential upgrade from the level before. For example, the head, finger, and other pieces of a puppet represent an object. A fully assembled puppet with the added string device to manipulate it gets you a marionette, a subject you toy with. Add a few more subjects like a power system, audio player, AI learning, a method to move around, and you get yourself a level 3 robot. Well, what if we have multiple robots learning different things and they have to coordinate to stay out of each other's way and explain what they're doing? Oh, wait, that's still level 3 subgroups. Talking is also level 3, an action, so only when they have to communicate with robots completely removed from their purpose do the different groups of robots need level 4 language. Now we have communities of robots all in communication with each other. Zoom out and we get a world of robots able to identify commonalities and theories of what it means to simply be. For most, this is as high as they could ever hope to get. But some start noticing all kinds of variables, and they start considering alternatives and pitting theory versus theory. They're thinking about thinking. And now we have cognition. But because we still have 72 archetypes, some robots think with logic, some use reasoning, some research, or maybe they just look at the world and think about how it makes them feel. Well, with so many ideas asserting themselves, they start butting heads. Time to go from asserting to asserting control. Level 7. Let the debates begin. Democracy versus republic. Theism versus atheism. Judaism versus Islam. Evolution versus creationism. Flat Earth versus fucking retards dumb enough to give them the time of day. And yes, retardation is a form of control. Even higher, we have level 8, examples of which being political parties, corporations, entire nations, and Christianity. They all combine multiple systems of thought control into cohesive designs. So if you want to reach level 9, you need a coalition of designs, right? Does that make the EU level 9? Nope, they're just a bunch of level 8s consolidating into a bigger level 8, downgrading the European nations to level 7 nation states. They totally cucked themselves. What about the United Nations? Nothing cohesive there. Big tech? A bunch of massive organizations all coordinating to express systems of thought so competing designs can't be created? Now that's level 9. Big tech, big pharma, deep states. Things so big and pervasive that you have to reach level 8 to even understand how they would work or exist. Like Alex Jones. As for level 9 people in our modern era, well, it's nearly impossible that people who function at level 9 to find themselves able to unleash their potential. It's even more rare for them to actually be seen doing it. Two such individuals were Charlie Kirk and Jeffrey Epstein. Well, how about the big man himself, Donald J. Trump? Certainly he's high level. As if. He's level 4 at best, and that's only in his second term. Remember how they constantly accused him of dog whistling? That's because level 3 can't use language properly. And a certain actual dog whistling requires level 7. So those accusations are a fucking joke. Sure, Trump targets level 8, but without the matching functional level, he ain't going to be subtle for shit. And 72 Archetypes itself. It too has its conceptual and targeting levels. So, can you take a guess at the conceptual level? There's a hint in the title of this video. If you can discern that using is what you do with tools, then you're right. 72 Archetypes is a tool, with each of the archetypes and levels being a subject, making them the same level as the entirety of other typologies like Myers-Briggs or the Big Five. Both of those target level 6. 72 Archetypes doesn't stop at targeting 6. If you want to master using this tool, you're mandated to do no less than reach into the well of universalism itself. Pull forth the fabric of reality, unravel the foundations of space and time, and weave them into an infinite tapestry of stories, with each thread of truth in its proper place. From there, omniscience will be in your grasp. Well, that's enough of that, so I'm cutting this off. If you're interested in trying to figure this all out, cross-reference this video with the 72 Archetypes Index I have in the description. You can also check out the other videos on this channel, but honestly, you might find more value in their comment sections than the videos themselves. You can also check out the songs in my playlist. I made a comment in some of them assessing their archetypes, fewer their meta levels, and even fewer their archetype shards. So, with that much, I'm signing off. Hoc est infinitus.